Hey, Rick Hustich here. On my channel, we'll discuss fly fishing tips, techniques, and some fun adventures, so stay tuned. The Marabou spay fly has been my go-to fly for steelhead and salmon for many years. But using a reverse tie on the Marabou is a little different twist to this go-to pattern. So let's take a look how we can incorporate a reverse tie into the Marabou spay. Okay, let's get started. I have cut a plastic tube to the length of about 1 7/8 inches, inserted the mandrel into the tube, and inserted that into the tube fly vise. We're actually going to start this fly as you normally would, towards the rear. However, this unique aspect of this fly is this will actually be the front of the fly. You know, at some point we will flip the tube around, and I'll show you how that occurs. This fly actually can be tied on a hook, or it could actually be tied on a shank as well. But the ability to kind of flip from front to back works very well on a tube. This isn't a pattern that I've originated. It was actually originated by West Coast spay guru, steelhead guide, salmon guide, Tom Larimer. And I don't believe he originated the fly either, but he certainly made it popular. And it's something that I've adapted here in the Great Lakes and have used on the West Coast as well. The Marabou flies, this kind of Marabou spay tube fly, is something that I've used for a number of years. I, in the past, have propped up the Marabou with schlapen or a couple other techniques using dubbing and a dubbing ball. But this reverse tie approach really helps the fibers to provide a really wide silhouette and the Marabou to work really well in the water. So let's take a look at how we do this. We're actually going to, this fly is going to be black over purple. So we're going to start with the black Marabou. Tie that in at the tip. And then wrap it. Wrap it forward, which is really wrapping it backwards, as we'll see here as we progress. So when I'm wrapping Marabou, I just want to make one wrap next to the other. Make sure that the stems are not wrapping onto any of the barbs, so I get all the barbs set so they're working and moving in the water. And just careful to stroke the fibers back out of the way as I wrap. I think wrapping Marabou is actually much easier on a tube than on a hook shank. Just that extra surface area of the tube makes it much easier to work with. And get that wrapped, tied off. Clean that up a little bit. And the first step is done. Now I'm going to tie in second Marabou, always a different color. Again, this is black over purple. I've done very well at black over blue. I have also used purple over orange or pink. For Chinook salmon, blue over chartreuse has worked very well for me over the years. So just get rid of some of that webby stuff in the bottom of the hackle, again using a fairly long Marabou blood hackle here. And we'll just tie that in again at the tip and run that back. Get that thread out of the way there. So we'll just run this back. Again, being very careful to wind it and wrap it. Now we have our marabou in place. Clean that up a little. I'm just going to take some cactus chenille, and it'll serve two purposes. One is to form a bit of a body on this fly. The other is, as I started here right by the marabou, I'll give it a couple extra wraps to create a bit of a ball there. Just a little figure eight, little crisscross. Build that up just a little bit, and that'll help to keep these fibers propped up. Oops. Get that out of there, hold on. There we go. And just help those to stay propped up. So just build a body back. Now I want to leave a little room here at the end, because that end has to go back into the chuck of the tube. And I also want to leave a little end here for some junction tubing. So finish that off, clean it up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to whip finish that off. So this, again, will be the rear of the fly. And we're going to whip finish it so that I can just reverse the tube. Throw just a little bit of glue on there, just to add to the durability when you're spay casting these flies. The stress you can put on the fly can unravel them if you don't just put a little glue on there. So we're just going to now flip-flop this. And I think you'll be able to see how this fly is starting to take shape. This will be the front now. And you can see how between the reverse tying and the cactus chenille back there, how it's keeping the fibers up. Eventually these will relax and pull back a little bit. But the idea here is that with the reverse tie and that cactus chenille, it's really going to keep these fibers high. It'll keep a much greater silhouette, but also allows the fibers to really move in the water. They won't mat down like marabou often does if it isn't propped up and allowed to breathe like that. So now we're just going to finish this thing off. A couple things you can add here. I mean, actually this fly could be done at this point, but a couple things we're going to add. I like to put a little flash in there, kind of more as a lateral line. So we're just going to use some, in this case, silver holographic Flashabou. Take like 3 strands. And tie it in. 3 full strands, tie it in at the middle, fold it back. Like that. And then I'll tie on the other side. So I really just do it right opposite of one another so they can act as lateral lines. Yeah, this contrast of the silver seems to work really well on this fly, but you can use like a purple Flashabou or a black Flashabou as well. But I just really like the holographic stuff. Catches light at different angles in the water. Looks very realistic. So just tying that in, folding that back, and the flash is in place. Again, this fly could be done at this point. Times I'll just add a little, I'll add a couple turns of schlaping. I've already pulled down the webby stuff on the bottom of this, but we'll just add a couple of turns. And this just gives it a little more of a finish. And you could use guinea or something like that to offset or complement the color. Just going to fold the schlaping back. Two, three turns. It's enough to finish it off. Clean that up. Tie that off. Now I like to try to keep the head in this fly very intentionally One thing that I've left a little plastic up in the front. One thing I can do with this fly as well is add a cone when I'm on the water. So I'll tie this unweighted. If when I'm on the water I feel like I need to add a little weight, I can just slide a cone right over top of that and make it a weighted fly just quite easily. Adding to the versatility of this pattern. But that's it, fairly simple tie. I'll tell you, this has been one of my absolute most productive patterns. West Coast, Great Lakes. I've even extended it in trout spay. Fairly simple. You can see it doesn't take long to tie these, and in the water they just really move like a dream. Okay, to complete the fly, I've trimmed the Marabou so that it is the same length or just a little bit longer than the Marabou. Added junction tubing to the end to slide the hook into after it's been tied to the tippet, and then trim back the plastic at the front so that if I'm on the water but I've left just enough plastic so that if I want to add a cone when I'm on the water, there's still some plastic there that I can use to flare that out with a lighter. It'll secure the cone in place, and at the same time provides a soft edge around the cone to protect the tippet. And that's it. That's a completed fly right there. You can see that movement, you can see it stays bulked up, and get that movement in the water, and very productive fly. If you have any questions on this pattern or anything else, feel free to reach out to me through Instagram or Facebook at Rick Hustage. Thanks for tuning in.